Welcome to Trifecta Collective, Finding the Root with Megan and Shannon, the podcast, where we dive deep into all things health and wellness to help you find health and healing inside and out for now and forever. Hello, Anna. Welcome to Trifecta Collective, Finding the Root with Megan and Shannon. I am Megan Abbott, owner and founder of the holistic health practice Trifecta Collective. And this is my co-host and head practitioner, Shannon Callerty. Oh, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. As normal, chant. This is I am truly excited for today's topic because this is something that has been coming up just this year so frequently. We're going to be talking about timelines of healing and why it's different for every person and why we can't always give you a specific time frame that you're going to be done with your healing journey.
Yeah, and also some things to really look out for if you do meet with someone and talk with someone and they make some big promises in some short time frames. We want to talk about that and I think this episode is going to pair really well with our root cause healing episode and what is actually root cause healing versus being symptom managed, because I think a lot of people are still, especially in our space, just symptom managing and promising real quick results, and look, I can't tell you the number of people that we work with that come from us from other providers in the functional health space or the holistic health space, and they did these, some of these wildly specific programs that made really significant promises, and the results don't. And we're going to talk all about why that is here. So, I think the first thing that we should probably talk about is, if someone's dealing with a bunch of chronic health issues, which is largely what we work with. And so I don't think someone has they get bloated every once in a while, this is not really who we're talking about here, but if you have, chronic gut issues, hormone imbalances, cognitive issues, skin issues, chronic fatigue, thyroid issues, all of these chronic issues, I think the first thing that's really important to understand is you didn't get there overnight. You didn't just wake up one day and all of this stuff just started to pop up and got worse. Now, there may have been a moment, a week, when something, a bigger stress of some sort, and, we could talk about, what these things are oftentimes that we see. But there were underlying things that happened in the first place. And so if we can't go into a healing journey expecting, I'm going to feel better in a month. I have these chronic gut issues, and all I need to do is take these supplements for a month, and then I will be fixed and I will be healed. Because that is definitely not the reality of the situation. And it's also, how long have you been doing these things that have impacted your overall health that we have to really unravel, undo, support the body? And that's really important to understand, I think, first and foremost.
Yeah, and this is exactly why we don't typically do short parasite cleanses or just a full moon challenge with someone, or any detox. I'll just say that as a whole, any detox that's a week long or 2 weeks long. If you're someone who has these chronic issues and you do something like that, we can almost guarantee that you're not going to see lifetime changes from doing something like that. And that's why we don't promote any of that stuff. And I also get it. When we hop on a call with someone and we're saying, oh, it might take you 3 to 9 months or 6 to, wow, numbers today, 6 months to a year to heal, from mold toxicity or something. I know that sounds like a really long time, but we just we will not see changes if we don't give the body time to heal. And when we tell people that up front, it's because we're trying to be as honest with you as possible, because we want you to know what's coming ahead, how to prepare yourself. That's also part of the program, is we're really helping you prepare for how to handle this long healing journey that you're entering.
Yeah, and for us, our goal isn't, we don't want you to just heal at the end of our program. At the end of working with us, which by the way, we don't expect people to work with us forever. That is never the goal. Our goal is to get people to a good enough spot where they feel pretty darn good most of the time. And look, like you're never going to feel perfect all of the time. And if you do, I think there's some delusion going on there. Because, part of life is stress and ups and downs and learning to ride the waves of just things that happen in our lives. But our goal is really, we want to get you to a spot where your body is in a really good spot to heal and stay healed. And all along the way, we've built in habits, long-term lifestyle changes, and things that are just should naturally be by the end, just part of your lifestyle. Having a daily mindfulness practice, like prioritizing protein, having good hydration, really simple things. The goal is not supplements long term. The goal is, short term supplements, but long term lifestyle changes that are going to support you in staying healed long term. Really, like if you do this work once, and really like commit to it. And once again, we're not talking like there's no crazy elimination diets. Like we're not putting you on 10, 15, 20 plus supplements. We're not doing like crazy detox work where you're doing, you expect to feel awful, not sleeping, needing to sleep, like 15 hours a day. Like we don't do any of that kind of work. Our goal is to meet you where you are, give your body what it needs to feel safe enough to heal itself and to stay healed long term, because we don't want you to have to do this again, because
Yeah.
we've done it too many times that we would all like to admit, and we've spent so much money and so much time and so many supplements and so much testing. Like we don't want anyone else to have to go through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as Megan's talking about building habits, that is also one of the reasons we ask that people show up to weekly calls, because that is how we can help give you the support to build those habits. Things change week by week. And, that's part of the program is like we want to be there to help you get through whatever's coming up for you. And that's also like when you're coming into this, how committed are you? Because if you can kind of make a promise to yourself to be committed to healing for whatever range of months for whatever you have going on, like if you truly show up and try to make these changes, these lifestyle changes and build new habits, when we see people who go all in, those are the people that we just see like rapid, like just like lifetime changes happening, kind of evolving into a new person by the time that they're done with this program. But you do have to be ready to commit to that level of actually making these changes and putting in the time to do it.
And here's the thing too, just going off of that. Once again, like we're not asking people to commit to, 6 months of an autoimmune paleo diet, or give up travel, give up vacations, give up alcohol. No, we don't think alcohol is the best, and there is a time and a place for many people with that, assuming it's for appropriate reasons, and things like that. And the one thing that I think is really important that you mentioned is committing. And really, I think the commitment is showing up for yourself. And I know that can't, especially for women who were so conditioned and or used to, being the good girl, putting everyone else before ourselves. Like that doesn't work in healing. And once again, this isn't about you, it's only about you. Like you can't have a family, you can't, because almost all of her clients have a family, have obligations, work full time, like have all of these things going on, and you still have to show up for yourself. And once again, this is really like something that makes us really different is, and something that has been really important to me, and this is the reason why I designed our programs the way they are, and why we are pretty inflexible, for many people, especially starting off with, in differentiating from this. Like showing up every week, we know, and I can tell you, like, as a personal trainer, like being in this space, like, you're gonna fall off anywhere between the 4 to 8 week mark. And fall off can mean different things. This could mean you have a weekend and you eat all of the pizza and beer and all of the things, don't sleep. Like this could be just you stop taking your supplements all of a sudden, like, and so, but we know 100% this is going to happen. And it happens 98% of the time. So like we expect this to happen. And this is really where what makes the difference is even if you fall up, are you still showing up? Because look, we don't care. We know this is gonna happen. Like we're 100%. Like we know for like once again 98% of people this is 100% gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Things are gonna fall off. Something's gonna come up. Your life is gonna get busy. You're gonna stop doing your castor oil packs or whatever else we're doing. You're gonna stop doing your mindfulness practice because stress got high, and that's the first thing that's gonna go off your list. And we don't care because we've been there. We've also done this too. And we want to help people get back into, okay, so if we've fallen off everything, let's say we've had 5 habits that we've really focused on in the first 6 weeks and we've stopped all of those. Okay, well, one, let's talk about why. What happened? Was it stress? Was it, food craving? Was it hormones? Like, was it a life event? One, let's talk through this. And look, like, no judgment on our end. I tell people, like, especially on my consults, people are like, this might be a TMI. I'm like, you're going to be really hard pressed to TMI me. I've been in this space for a decade. Like, I have heard a lot. And you would be wildly surprised at some of the stories I've heard in the first 10 minutes of meeting someone. But let alone, after working with someone for several months. We don't care. We don't have any judgment. The most important thing for us is we just want to talk to you. We want to talk through this and how can we support someone when they do fall off? Because we also know, once again, you're going to stop working with us at some point. Life is going to get stressful. Something's going to come up and things are going to fall off. And if you have practice in re-implementing a lot of these things and had support while doing it, the likelihood of you being able to simply re-implement certain things into your life, man, that's going to be a game changer once again in your long-term health journey.
Yes, like we're not here for you to rely on us. We're here to teach you these things so you can take them into your own life and do them on your own and have these skills to use like forever. And one other thing that I want to mention here too is that when sometimes people come in and we have our own timelines in our head, like, hey, I've got all these issues coming up and I want to be done in 3 months, or I want to be done in 2 months. And it just like it doesn't work that way, because our body is going to release and heal what it's ready to heal on your body's terms, not what your mind has. So, and this is like a huge roadblock for people, and it's something that we work on frequently, and that is part of letting go of control of the timing factor. Just like letting go in general has a huge role here in all of healing, whether that's like with supplements, maybe it's mental and emotional stuff, but we really can't come in with like the mindset of I need to be done with this by X date, because you're almost setting yourself up for failure at that point. Because if you're not meeting those marks, there's going to be some disappointment that comes with that, and there's probably going to be a whole realm of other things that come up for you, and it just makes it way more difficult to actually for us to help you get to where you want to be if there's no slack in that time frame that you have going on.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple pieces to this. The first thing that we really focus on, and really, I think like if we have like a big overarching philosophy, it's how do we reduce stress inside and outside of the body? And reducing stress inside and outside of the body to give the body the most optimal circumstances to heal. So if we're making radical changes, guess what? That is probably going to be more stressful on your body. For me, when I first, the first functional medicine practitioner I worked with, we did a bunch of testing up front, and then I started on a really strict elimination diet and 18 supplements. I think it was 18, somewhere between 15 and 20, like 18 supplements at the same time. And I've shared this before, but the detox reaction I had for like 10 days, arguably you can compare it to like coming out of like an addiction of some sort, the withdrawals, the shaking, super tired but not able to sleep, like super nauseous, like really like I was just like trembling, like inability to think, like, and I would never put that on someone else because it's not good, because what it did is it increased the stress on my body. So my body was in a less optimal place to heal, let alone, I was definitely 100% not absorbing 18 supplements at any given time because there was no liver support that was ever mentioned.
Oh
And
gosh.
so, like, that, why would we do that? So part of this is like reducing stress is we have to listen to your body, and your body is going to give us signs and signals of increases in stress. And, you know, sometimes depending on the severity, depending on the symptoms, we might say, hey, if this is mild, like a mild headache for a couple days and starting a new supplement, yeah, that is on the table for sure. Give, with certain supplements and that kind of thing. If it is a severe headache where you have to call off of work, it is too much. We want you to stop. We need to reel back that supplement. Maybe that supplement is not right for you in that moment, and we need to do something else because your body is clearly telling us, hey, this is super stressful for me. I am not ready for this. Please help. And one of the big things, and another reason why we see people every single week, like, and that once again, like, this is a non-negotiable for us, as a starting point for the first 3 to 6 months, we do weekly meetings. And once again, like, I've done it so many ways, and compliance and results were not there. People were not getting the results. It was frustrating on both ends. And so this, when I kind of initially designed these kind of packages that we have now, like, that was a non-negotiable for me because I know people need that weekly support. I also know that we need that feedback on a weekly basis of, hey, here's everything that I'm experiencing. We want to know all the little stuff, all the big stuff, positives, negatives, everything in between, because that helps us guide someone through their healing journey. So we are going at an appropriate pace for that person. And that is, we want to go as fast as possible, yes. And we can't go faster than your body will allow us to go.
Yes, and this is a big thing when it comes to like actually showing up to the calls, because if you're not showing up to get the support, you're not hurting us. You're only hurting yourself. Like, we're truly there to help support you and get you through that. And I think that that's, talking about like the timeline thing. If you're signing up for a program like this, you also have to commit to take that time out of your week for yourself, because again, like, this is for you. You're setting aside the time for you. You're not setting aside the time for us. And I think that we see this a lot with, we'll say, like, our corporate girlies who are working like, 60 to 80 hours a week. Like, if we aren't willing to make some shifts and some changes and allow your body to relax a little, or even like make time to show up to the call, you're going to have a more difficult time healing. It's probably going to take double the amount of time that we originally told you, because we got to get your body to just like have some space and slow down. That's such a big part of this.
Yeah, and the other piece of this is, we put a huge emphasis on mindfulness, on nervous system regulation, on trauma healing, and that takes time. And there are a lot of layers. And we don't think anyone's ever done. I've never met anyone who's done who I feel like they're done and their ego isn't driving that, like, I'm done, I'm all healed. What? hmm, maybe you got a break right now and ride that wave. Great, awesome. And if you are you also ignoring, patterns that come up, things that are coming up, things that are ready to be healed on a deeper level, on a deeper layer, maybe in a different way. Like all of that is a really big deal. And once again, and this largely depends on the person, but especially with people women who are not used to feeling, listening to their body, being in tune with their body. And it can, yes, be easier to just shove all the things down. And that's also what is making you sick and not making you feel good right now. We have to start working on that. And once again, like that's a real process. I've been doing really, really deep and significant trauma healing work for over 5 years at this point, and I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface. And that is with the use of psychedelics. And I think back to, where I was even just a year ago. I mean, and arguably my last year was like real crazy, and changes and healing and shifts and all that kind of stuff. But, like there's just so many things to be healed, so many patterns to be aware of it, and how do we soften at deeper levels and in deeper layers, and how do we do this with ourselves, and then with a partner, with friends, with your family, just like in your daily life, with your work life, and then when stressful events come up, like I talked a lot about my situation last week. Once again, my question is, I have all these tools and resources, and I know how to be strong, and I know how to just like push through. And how can I come in now softer? How can I approach this very stressful situation from a place of softness, of tapping into more of my feminine type energy, as opposed to just bulldozing my way through and then really paying for it, when things are really wrapped up here.
Yeah, and I think in general there's a lot of like fear coming into this work and deeper healing, especially if we are meeting with someone who has like a significant amount of trauma issues and whatnot. There can definitely be a lot of fear that shows up, even with like, medical trauma, taking supplements, whatever it may be. And that is certainly not something that can just be fixed in an instance. Like Megan said, she's been working on deeper trauma stuff for like 5 years. Same here, it's been a while, and I don't ever feel like I'm like, yes, I feel better, see growth in so many places, but still there are still things that come up for me that show up in different ways where I'm like, oh, I still need to work on that more. Like this isn't fully gone yet. Or if I let myself get too stressed out and I have like a mini flare up or whatnot, there's just like so many moving pieces to this. And especially when it comes to this like trauma, nervous system regulation, mindfulness stuff that we're talking about, this continues on all throughout your life. Like we've talked about this before, you can take supplements up to a certain point to heal like gut issues and, fix some of this root cause chronic stuff. Yes, that's great. It's a tool. We need it. But the nervous system piece is something that's going to continue on forever. I have had so many clients where we get to a really good place, we're stopping the supplements, and what's left is emotional stuff that has to be worked on. Like we don't need supplements anymore. We have to keep working on the emotional part. And that is tough, and you certainly cannot force your body to do that because it's only going to let you do what it's ready to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I have many clients that I've been working with for many, many, many years at this point. And at a certain point, yeah, we'll still look at blood work every 6 to 12 months. We'll talk about, different symptoms and things that may, flare up or come about, or we may experience. But really, the bulk of the work is, how do we continue to feel safe in our bodies? How do we continue to feel more, be more in our bodies and not so much in our heads? Because that is the work that takes a lifetime. And, I know that can be really hard to hear, of like, you're never gonna be done. And Yeah, it is hard, and I will also say it gets a lot easier. And once again, like you learn to ride the waves of the process, and that you just like start to be like, "Whoop, I'm in it. I'm in the bottom of the wave right now. The waves are crashing down on me, and I know this is where I am. I also know this is not going to last forever. And how do I ride this through? What is this coming up for me?" And you just like learn to accept it and lean into it, which makes, you go, once again, you're going through the waves a little bit faster because you're riding with the waves and not trying to, paddle against, and you're in a pocket, essentially drowning
Yeah.
yourself from these waves, which, by the way, I have done too, and I get it and I understand. I think we've all been there, but
Yeah.
part of the healing journey is learning to ride these waves.
Yeah. I'm really laughing internally right now because I have a client who, she's figuring out that she is more just sensitive, like energetically. She's really in tune with herself now. She can feel when things are changing and coming up. And she asked me a while ago, she's like, "Am I gonna be like this forever?" And it was kind of hard for me to tell her, like, yes, in a way, because now that you're here, like you are connected with your body. You can tell when things bother you, when there's physical shifts happening, when there's energetic shifts happening. But I had to explain, like, it will get easier, and it's all about not fighting against it and just like learning to ride that wave and go with the flow. And once we really do that, things don't feel as heavy all the time.
Yeah, and this is a very common conversation that we have with a lot of clients, and they're like, I just go to this big event and I feel so overstimulated, or they have to like really like turn on for a big event or something, and they're like, I was so tired, like it took me out for days afterwards, and we're like, we know, and this is how you are, right? This is how you're always gonna be, and I think that can be very challenging at first, when you're like, but I just want to be like I was before, and ignore all these things and not feel all these things. And part of the healing process is this reconnection with yourself, which, once again, this is not an overnight process. This is not a 1 month and you're reconnected with yourself. Like, this is really a lifetime. I mean, this can take months, years, decades, depending, on the person, and what we need to kind of the layers that we're going through here. But it is a strength at the end of the day. And it honestly, it's a super power to be that sensitive and in tune. And with any superpower, there comes some things that you just have to understand. And part of that may be you're going to recognize when something is too much or doesn't feel good or doesn't quite align with what you're trying to do, and then you're going to have to make a decision and based on that. And energetic shifts, you might feel certain more things around on the full moon. You might feel more in tune with yourself around like the start of your period, and all these things, like when little things do shift in your body, you can become very hyper aware. And especially, we know this as practitioners, and have fallen into that boat of like, oh my God, there's something off. Like, what do I need to do? Like, doing all the things and the hyper fixating on it and like trying to going down some big rabbit holes here. I think we've all fallen into that here. But, learning how to recognize, hey, this is where I am at this moment. This is what my body's going through. This is what I'm going through emotionally, and not to freak out and try and do all of the things, and really focus on, okay, what does my body need right now? How do I tune in? How do I listen more to my body and what it needs? Does it need more sleep? Does it need more rest? Does it need more time in nature? Does it need more water? Does it need, whatever it may be? And using those tools, which, once again, like, this is a real superpower. And yeah, it can be hard to reconcile with this at first.
Yeah. And this is really something that we try and help you build throughout like our time working together. Not only the getting connected with your intuition piece, but like once you're there, also teaching you like what are your own signs that maybe you need to get some outside support, maybe some extra like body work, maybe you need some alone time. That's part of the habits that we're going through and trying to help teach you so you know how to take care of yourself, because everyone needs something different. Like, you use the example of an event being in a crowded, like, simulating space. Some people thrive off of that. Other people need their time and their space, and that doesn't work for them. But again, like, really diving into that stuff and trying to show people, what do you need? Like, let's figure out what you need, how to take care of your body so you can continue to do that after our time working together.
Yeah, and a big piece of this, like for a lot of people, is learning who you are potentially for the first time. Especially if you did have a lot of childhood trauma, early adulthood trauma, in which case you were surviving. Most of your life has been in survival mode and just learning how to survive versus people who may not have had as much, childhood type trauma and had opportunities to grow and explore and learn and fail and do all of these things in a safe and protected environment where, like for me, this was a hard concept for me to like really understand, and this like feeling of being behind in your life and being like I should be in a certain place because I'm 30, because I'm 35, because I'm this age and this is where I should be, and I should be married and kids and job and da, da, da. And the reality of the situation is, for many of us, that's a very unrealistic timeline because we don't even know what we like. Like, how do you know what you need if you don't even know yourself, and have had that opportunity? So that is a big piece. And I know for me, I would have considered myself an extrovert for the vast majority of my life, and I can tell you, I am the hardest core introvert. I mean, man, I'm like such a hardcore introvert. And when I really started to figure that out, like that was a real blow. And I was like, why do I need so much alone time? Why can I not handle crowds? Why can I not handle small talk? Like, why can I not handle any of these things that I used to thrive? And I say that in quotations because I was not thriving at all. It was really just the attention that I was seeking, and potentially like the feelings of love that I didn't experience as a child. And realizing now, like, man, I am like, I need that alone time. I need that restorative time, and that is a big deal. And how do I embrace that and connect with that?
Yeah, and you mentioned the not knowing who you are piece. Oh my God, such a big deal here. Like, I think back about myself and just like going through college, and I really didn't start to figure out who I was probably until I was like 26 or 27 years old. So the just getting to know yourself piece, imagine if you're coming to us and you're in like your late 50s, you're 55 years old, and you don't know yourself yet. Like, just think about that. That is such a long time frame that we have to go back and start to unravel some of these pieces. And it can be really tough at that point because you've spent 50 plus years of your life living this certain way, maybe not knowing yourself in what you need or desire at all. Like, that takes so much time. I mean, I've worked with certain clients for 6 months plus, and like we just start to break the surface on some of that stuff. So that's the part where like we're opening new doors that you're going to continue to have to work on and discover these things, probably throughout the rest of your life. And we certainly have some good tools. There's a book that I like. It's called the Self-Love Workbook. We can put that in the show notes. And then there's a couple other ones that we have too. I can't think of the titles right now. But this is a really great starting point. Maybe if you're not ready to jump into therapy yet, or like any type of like deeper healing stuff, some of the prompts and questions in these books really get you thinking about things that you've just never thought about before, like asking you very specific questions about what do you like, what do you want in your life, like where do you imagine yourself in a year, things that, if we did grow up in a certain situation that caused trauma in our lives, things that you've probably never asked yourself before. So it could just open like a whole new world essentially of getting to know yourself. And that is a really big part of that.
Yeah, and like going off of that, we often need to shift habits that people have had in place for most of their life. And because we're focused on long-term healing and staying healed, once again, we're not going from, whatever way you're eating, let's say you're eating a standard American diet, to once again, like autoimmune paleo, of like, you can only have these like 30 foods in your life, and this is what meals should look like. Once again, like that's not going to work. This is also another reason why we don't do meal plans, because the goal is to teach you how to do this and build that skill, build that habit, because once again, that's what's going to serve you long term. And if we just give you like, hey, just follow this food program, it's not going to last. It's not becoming a habit. It's not teaching you how to connect, food choices, lifestyle choices, the way movement, how does movement affect your mood? How does it feel in your body? How does it help and or hurt your body? How does it help and hurt your sleep? Like all of that stuff matters. And once again, like we can't change all of your habits overnight, and expect them to last, which is why we baby step them kind of across the board and make them really tangible. Because the other big piece of this is most people need to learn how to trust themselves. And that is a skill that is not inherent, I think, in most of us, especially people who have a lot of chronic health issues. We don't know how to trust ourselves again and hold up promises to ourselves. And how do we do that? And I'll even throw, if you have and I have mixed opinions on this, but if you've been diagnosed with some sort of neurodivergency, that can, for some people, add an extra layer of challenge there too. So it's, we take that to account. We have a lot of people we work with who have been diagnosed on the spectrum of some sort, ADD, ADHD, and sometimes it's not actually those things. Sometimes it's other things that are impacting that. Sometimes it is. It just really depends on the person. But either way, it's harder for some people. And it is, by the way, it's hard for all of us too, to change habits. Like it's not an overnight thing. And it takes, if you read, what is that, Atomic Habits or yeah,
Yep. Yep.
it takes at least 21 days to instill a new habit. And so if we're trying to instill many new habits across the board, because once again, we look at nutrition, lifestyle, movement, nervous system regulation, and then we're doing the targeted supplementation for these bigger root causes that we find. I mean, that's not going to change overnight. We cannot change all of those things overnight, especially, they change and evolve, as we go through, and as someone gets, feels a little bit safer. Maybe we're only doing walking at first, and maybe we're increasing the time that we're walking, and then maybe we're doing some mobility work, and then maybe we want to introduce some strength training with body weight, and then we can move up to band. Like there's a real layered process for almost all of these things, and we can't just go from 0 to 100, because once again, we know that's not going to serve you long term.
Yeah, and that's like just to give another example here, like if you're someone who's coming to us and you do have bull toxicity, sometimes we can't. Yes, we really try and touch on like the movement piece, like Megan was saying, can we at least get some walking in? But it's really difficult to try and build and change all of these habits at one time. Like sometimes the mold toxicity can be affecting our mental health so much that maybe you're not to the point where you can get movement in yet. Maybe you're in too much pain to get movement in yet. So we can't do that until, 6 months down the line into mold work. And again, like the timing is so different for each person because these changes are so big for the body. They typically don't all happen at one time. Like we do our best to take those baby steps and just start to get you like thinking about these things and, what changes do you desire to make? Do you want to move more? Well, maybe that's something that has to come later on in the program. Like it's just so different for each person.
Yeah, and the other thing here too is the body is going to present typically with the highest priority of things. So, and we really work in this way of like, if someone's got mold, that is the biggest deal. I don't care what else you have going on. and likely you have all of the gut overgrowth issues. Like likely we've got all kinds of cognitive issues, thyroid issues, hormone imbalances, like skin issues, inflammatory issues, immune system issues. Like you probably have all of those things. And once again, like not everyone has mold, by the way. But just like worst case scenario, like mold is the biggest offender if we think about like all of them. Like if mold is the biggest thing, all right, so we deal with the mold, then we do a lot of like gut work, and then we have to like rebuild and stabilize the gut. And then sometimes some other things are now able to present themselves because these higher priority things have been taken care of. So even like we have some people where like maybe their hormones were in a pretty good spot and then maybe they are end up not in the best spot. And it's not because of the work that we did, it's because the body can finally be in a place where like, hey, your hormones are actually not okay. And just because you weren't experiencing symptoms doesn't mean that they were in the most ideal spot for you and your body. And so like immune system things like viral stuff pops up. Like that's a big thing that we'll see for for some people, not for everyone, and not I wouldn't even say for most, but sometimes we have to do additional immune system work because now the immune system is in a place where it's like not just fighting the mold and parasites and all these gut overgrowth issues. And now other things can present. So there's also like a layering even within your body and what shows up, how things present throughout someone's healing journey. So, while someone, let's say someone I say that in real quotations here because this is no joke, but, some heavy metal toxicity, bacterial and parasite overgrowth issues. I mean, even still, like just doing that work, what else is the body going to pop up? What else is going on in your life, by the way? As you're going through this process, are you changing jobs? Did you change relationships? Are you changing where you live? Like what have your relationships looked like? Have you lost a friend? Have you lost a parent? Like, and I don't necessarily mean death, but this could even just be like, hey, your circle of friends is changing, your relationship with your family is changing as your own healing journey is going on. And that can bring up some new things. So like we have to take all of this into account. And I really just I would caution anyone is who meets with someone and they have like these big promises of like we can fix you in 6, 8, 12 weeks. You're going to feel so good. We're going to do like this intensive, dietary protocol and supplement protocol. And we're going to do all this testing up first and do all the things all at once. Like, look, if that's what you are feeling called to, like 100% go for it. And we've both been through that process too many times than we'd like to count. It does not work, and your symptoms will continue. And if you are choosing just to be symptom managed, just like if you're choosing to be symptom managed within the Western medicine community, that is fine. That is 100% your choice. 100%. And there is no shame in that. And you also need, if you're going to choose one of those routes, you need to understand the consequences that you will be on supplements long term. You will have dietary restrictions long term. You will probably not feel great long term. Stress, any sort of bigger stressors that come up in your life will impact you in a greater level. You may need to add more medications, more supplements, like more things, more restrictions. And that's often when we start to see people. And we have a lot of work to undo to really get the body back into a safe place where it can heal and once again stay healed long term.
Yeah, and it really is a personal choice. Like, again, if you are in the position in your life where you're okay with symptom managing, like, we're not shaming you. We understand that there's a time and a place for everything, but just knowing or helping people understand that you will most likely continue to symptom manage if you don't take the time to, like, slow down and kind of face some of the scary, uncomfortable stuff and dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and if this is like feeling really new to you and you're like, oh my gosh, is this me? I would really encourage you to go back to listen to our root cause healing episode because I do think that is a super good episode that pairs with, like we don't do short-term healing. We don't make promises that, hey, you'll be done in 3 months. In the consults, we often will give people a time frame, and we also are pretty darn clear of like, hey, this is a guess. Your body is different than everyone else's body, and we do not know what else is going to come up, and we are here to support you through all of it. And this is a general guess. because that's all we can do, because people's bodies shift and change and respond differently, and different things can come up that need to be worked through on any front. And so, those are just things that we really take into account, and we try really hard to be very clear and upfront in being like, this is the whole process. We can give you an estimate, and we also have to recognize that, we may have a lot of shifts and changes that we need to make long term, more than we can get out of, a 30-minute free consultation that we're unaware of, things going on. And so it is a guess. It is a real guesstimate on our time frames. We have with mold, we always say like 6 to 12 months is a general estimate. And it can be a lot longer than that. If someone's super sensitive, like 12 to 18 months is certainly on the table here.
Oh,
Compliance is
yeah.
also a thing. Is someone showing up? Like, all of that plays a really big role and really big factor. And once again, like, there's a lot of, these 7-day detoxes and, 2-month, gut healing protocols, and that you do on yourself. And you just, like, they have a diet, and then they have these lists of supplements that you take. And yes, I am referencing the same company that I always reference, because I do not like, and I do not agree with anything that they do. And I know it's really appealing, and I know I'm in a lot of groups where this is talked about and people are doing all these things and don't see the long-term lasting results. And that's because you're not looking at the bigger picture, which is where I think the root cause healing episode, really where we dive into deeper into that of what really is root cause healing, and why do we need to look at all of these things, and really the bigger picture as to what we're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. All very valid points, and we really do our best to, again, just like be honest and upfront with people. And there's so many factors that go into this, like how often you actually are showing up to the calls, how much effort are you able to put in. All of that affects how long it's going to take you to go through the program, essentially. And again, like this is a journey. This is like a big life change that's going to continue on throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah, and just to be clear, like, once again, this is not about being perfect. This is not about like making all of these shifts and changes 100%, like, right off the bat. Like, we know that's not realistic, not going to happen. And we also don't require a ton of time. Showing up for a weekly call for the first 3 to 6 months, and then, what are little things, especially like, can you spend 1 to 5 minutes a day breathing? You know, we all should
Basic.
be able, yeah, we all should be able to do that. And we always talk about habit stacking. Like, even when you're in the bathroom, like, if you've got young kids and you're doing a lot, like, going to the bathroom or like taking a shower, can you also, like, while you're doing that, can you also, like, be doing some deep breathing, like reconnecting with your body while you're in the shower? Like, 1 minute before bed, can you just practice some breathing? So this isn't about you need to dedicate hours of your day to deeper healing. It's really about showing up and how do we make this work for you and your schedule and your lifestyle. And yes, some shifts are going to have to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just one other thing I wanted to mention too is because you probably have heard us talk about like doing a full moon challenge, which is like 5 to 7 days. We are recommending that if you're someone who's already addressed the root issues. Like we have nothing against doing like, a short parasite cleanse a couple times a year as a way to stack on top of the work that we've already done and help keep your body in a good place. We're just talking about like that's not a starting point. Like a week cleanse, a month cleanse, like that is just not a starting point when you want to work on root cause healing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, amazing point.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that helps in understanding a little bit more as to, yeah, like, what this process can really look like, and from a time frame perspective, and things to expect, and choices that you have, and can make, in choosing how you approach your health and healing journey. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think this was a good episode, super important, super valuable, and we hope you enjoyed it. As always, please like, follow, subscribe if it resonates. Any 5-star reviews really, really, really mean the world to us. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, bye everyone. See you next time.